Hello, hello, hello. How are we all doing today? Oh, a bit squeaky, this chair. I hope everyone is well for a Sunday night in Brisbane. It's actually a late one today. It's 10:15. But it's been another big day, of which I had a bit of a nana nap for a couple of hours. Actually, no, okay, it was 3 hours. So technically, my body's still probably around 7 o'clock. So anyway, that's my excuse for being up late because it is late for me. Um, wow, I had totally lost track of the number of lives that I've done so far. And yesterday, I was saying it was number 18 yesterday, but now 20. I'm up to day 20, therefore live 20. And it's really interesting because, the topics and the things that I want to talk about are flowing through. It's just making sure that I've got some valuable content, that I've found quite helpful. Today was an interesting day too because I did actually do a bit of a review of how I was tracking with my goals, as you know, and I've mentioned it before from my first live, as well as a couple of them since then that I've started this 12-week year. And part of that requires a bit of reflective sort of exercise, go through at the end of each week and review how you're going, how you're tracking. And the idea about being 12 weeks is you have this tendency then to bring forward actions that you would normally procrastinate on. So it's actually quite useful for me in that sense. So today I spent a bit of time going through and reviewing where I am in terms of my 12-week plan. Actually, I've got it just sitting here. I won't go through it in detail. I just wanted to share that. So yeah, business, health, and relationships. So it's that way. It's quite a well-rounded. Hey, Cuz, how you doing, Leah? Hope you guys arrived okay. Looks like you're doing a late one as well. So I was just talking about this 12-week, goal planning and doing reviews, going through and seeing how you're going and reflecting. So it was really interesting exercise because in my mind, I was thinking I had so much more to catch up on. But when you actually do your review, it really helps you put things back into perspective. And it also allows you to celebrate the small milestones. Whereas I tend to be so into the action and so into what I need to do that I lose track of what I've actually achieved. And so when you're pedaling so hard like that, you burn out easy. And I've hit the wall a few times in the past. I know the challenge there. And I know, Cuz, you're a hard worker as well. And let me know what type of goal setting you work with. But this 12-week year for me has worked really well in terms of getting me focused and getting me to take daily actions is working really well. So all rounded. So in terms of business, what else? Health development as well and achieving those goals. So I've got a goal. We've got to do a health check by the end of next week. Just see how things are tracking, in terms of exercising, and then measuring your lead actions. Lead indicators are things like what you're doing today in order to achieve that goal. And lag indicators are what the outcomes are. So it's really a fun exercise. And, you sort of ride out that whole normal period when, particularly after the beginning of the new year, you tend to sort of float off your goals because, the novelty has worn off. So anyway, that's where I'm sitting at the moment, day 20. Today, I wanted to focus on probably one of the issues that I spend a lot of time in this space is debt, and, debt issues and finances because, ultimately financial freedom and money freedom and freedom from debt, those are often the key drivers for people reaching out definitely need more mindful of things that need to be achieved instead of just grinding 24/7. Absolutely, Leah. It's so true. And especially as mothers, as caregivers, as parents, where everyone else's priorities are in there as well, as part of being who we are as people. So yeah, I wanted to talk about debt and finances today. It's an area that, my background in financial counselling as a result of my own financial hardship, that's what I'm really passionate about. And, the people that I've worked with in terms of helping them come out of financial hardship, they really mirrored a lot of the stresses that I had been. So I really connected with a lot of the pain that they go through as well, and the impact on relationships with self, with partners. Money and debt issues is the number one issue for relationship breakups. And so, where does that come into with earning an income and stepping into business? And I suppose this is where a lot of the decisions that we make can be out of a space of desperate. Whether we remain in a job that is stripping us of our happiness and is becoming a real grind, and holding on to that job because of debt can be a real challenge as well. I've worked with a lot of people who have just stayed in that job because how else are they going to pay it? And that fear of stepping into another role and, working through, well, how long am I going to lose this income for? So it's real employee mindset that goes on there. And the fear of losing that income. And it's really, it's all well and good to say, hey, just stop your job and start a new business and, you'll be so focused and you'll be able to generate off that enthusiasm because you're really focused because you've got no other way of earning an income. It's all really well and good to say that. But the reality is that if you are pushing and developing a business out of fear, out of a space of lack, that energy comes through, and it comes through pretty strongly in the people that are receiving your message. So I wanted to maybe share a couple of tips here that I often will go through with the people that I'm working with as well. And it's a little bit of a flip over of what we're used to, because in this environment, we're a generation that's used to debt. Our parents and the generation before us, cash was king. And so if you didn't have the cash, you didn't buy it. Whereas, then the debt regulation, all of that started to happen and it was thrown out there. Anyone could get debt really easily. But this generation now is suffering as a result of that debt. So what's also then happened is a lot of our education around money has come from institutions that are chasing repayments of debt. And so they've forced their debt repayment to become the first focus. So money comes in, they take repayment for the debt. And here's the thing, as honest people, we want to pay the debt that we've taken out, and that's good. But what we need to be careful of is when the capacity to repay has become challenged because of breakup in relationship or loss of job, that's a time when you actually have the option to put everything on hold until you get back on your feet. So that's another discussion, actually. That little rabbit hole goes down into financial hardship and your options there. So I'm not going to go down there for now. But I guess what I wanted to touch on, and it links back to this issue of Maslow's hierarchy. Well, no, it's not an issue. It's a theory, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And many people will be familiar with that, where it states that it doesn't matter where we're from, what our beliefs are, colour of our skin, our political beliefs or religious beliefs or anything of that nature. Every man, woman and child, in order to survive, needs a roof over your head and food on the table and basic connections. One of the levels up from that then is security, is that need to feel secure, right? And from there is the need for social connection. Being connected with each other is such a basic need as human beings. And then from there is feeling good about self. You know, the highest part of Maslow's hierarchy of needs is your self-actualization, is you being at your happiest point. But in order to be there, those fundamental things need to be covered. So roof over your head, food on the table, basic connections, feeling secure, feeling happy, having social connections and family connections, and feeling good about self, being able to be physically healthy, physically and mentally healthy as well. Those are all things that actually come before debt needs to be paid. So what we find is when people come to us in financial hardship, what happens is we've been conditioned to pay the debt first. So the debt goes out and then we struggle to cover our basic needs. So what happens then? We get stressed, we argue about money, we're a little bit shorter with our children than we wish we could be. And so restabilizing yourself when you're in that situation is one of the key things that we do. It's the very first step we do, is we say, take your power back, restabilize yourself. When the money comes in, roof over your head, food on the table, basic connections, security. Your connections also include the internet, would you believe? Because everything is now linked. Social security now, our Centrelink here in Australia is all online. You cannot go down to Centrelink and get what you used to be able to get. You'd line up for ages, and half the time they send you online anyway. So internet connection is actually a basic need, electricity, all of those things. So by the time you allow for those things first and you're feeling more stabilized and you're able to really get your head clear, then we look at debt and where does money go to, where are you going to get money to pay for debt? So let's assume that we have restabilized and money is going to all of those basic needs first. And you can feed well, everyone's getting fed well, education's been covered. Let's assume that all that's been done. I have seen immediate transformation in people once they get that. All of a sudden it's like, oh, right, I can breathe now. And then we talk about, okay, well, let's see if you can cover the minimum requirements on your debt. If you're at least able to do that, you're breaking even, right? You're breaking even. And that's where we were a few years ago. We were just breaking even. And so the question that I had from there was, I don't want to just be breaking even. I want to be living a life. I want to be able to do that extra and travel and not have, not be, I guess, vulnerable to however the boss is feeling on the day. They could be feeling like, okay, we'll give you freedom and you can make your own decisions and give you some autonomy. On the other hand, they might decide all the 5 reports that they needed to do is passed down to you. Like, you want to have a bit of freedom and a bit more fulfillment. And so this is where our delving into how do we earn the extra money to do that? How do we now leverage off our current position at breaking even and then start delving into earning extra money so that we can build that lifestyle that we are really craving? And so what I've found is when we're able to do that and we know that the ship is on its course, then the extra that we're doing is leveraging off that so that we can create that lifestyle without coming across desperate, so that we're able to then invest that extra money into what we need to do to build that business that we so crave to get that freedom. So I guess today's discussion, it's now just going on 15 minutes and I'll try not to drag it on too long, but just really wanted to focus on, hey, if you're why has been driven by debt and the need to make payments. You can do it. But I would always suggest that if you're able to pull back your hours of work, just so that you're covering your basic needs, you might free up time to be able to build your business. You might be able to do a lot of things off the back of that when in your mind you thought you didn't have the time to be able to put into the steps that you need to build your business. Lubika, hi, thanks for joining us. Really good to see you there. So we had a really nice community coming together. So a lot of our students here came together in Logan yesterday, and that was really nice because, again, this is the fellowship. This is us coming together, which is one of the basic needs that we forget about. So being able to connect and get out is so important. It's a basic need. So that's me for today. So, focusing on your basic needs, health, and then off the back of that, being able to leverage and build your business. Because look, this is a life journey, building your business is not easy. We know that. All of us know that, it's a challenge, but it's even more of a challenge if you're desperate to know how are you going to pay the mortgage next week. How are you going to pay the rent? How are you going to keep the roof over your head? So if you're serious about building your business, it is about stabilizing, getting enough income just to cover those basic needs and then leverage off that. Yeah, it's good to see you too, Lubika. So that's me for today, just over 15 minutes. I hope I haven't bored you too much and I hope you've got some value out of that. Please feel free to pop in any comments if you're tuning in after today, hashtag replay, and just let me know where you're tuning in from. That would be awesome, and it'd be really nice to be able to connect as well. So good night from me here in Brisbane, Aussie. Good morning to anyone on the other side of the world. I believe there is a solar eclipse here on the globe somewhere, so I hope you got to see that. We didn't, but yeah. All good. Take care. Bye.